Hello, everyone. So I'm going to give a short presentation about what AI can do to transform our business. So first of all, a little bit about who I am. My name is Cheuk, and I am a digital transformation leader. I call myself a digital transformation leader with human touch because in the past 20 years, I've been introducing new emerging technologies to companies, and at the same time, knowing that they can be very unfamiliar to the business and the organization. I focus a lot on building the people readiness or the capability, helping people through the change journey. So AI is another great example of this because not everyone actually know what AI truly can do. So in my current role, I am building future-ready capabilities for 76,000 people in AstraZeneca, and particularly focusing on building digital capabilities, AI included, and learning agility, which is about making continuous learning happen naturally at work. And they are actually linked. So anyway, today I'm going to share a few highlights in terms of how healthcare is changing, in a changing world, how artificial intelligence and automation is actually different, what AI can really do or not. And I shall share with you some examples, and then we'll go into the Q&A. So in terms of healthcare in the changing world, I'll dive in here, right? You probably have discussed some of this earlier already. There are global trends which we cannot ignore, which actually increase the demand for healthcare, but in a very challenging economic climate. And with COVID-19, it has also highlighted challenges and accelerated healthcare innovation and change. And also there are technology breakthroughs which are helping us to improve health outcomes, and including using technology to extract insights, not just data sitting in the system, but extracting the insights to improve health outcomes and also personalized healthcare. Technology also allow each one of us to monitor our own health. So lots of exciting innovation going on there as a backdrop. Within our company, we continue to put patients at the heart of what we do and continue to transform our science. And you can see here, these are our growth through innovation, company-wide strategy, and focusing on these 4 key areas: enhancing our understanding of disease, designing next generation therapeutics, better predicting clinical success, and also pioneering new approach in the clinic. And all this, as you can see, is actually, we also have the strategic focus that we need to think about how we can use data science and AI to actually enable all of this. So with AI particularly, it has the potential for us to transform the way we discover and develop new medicines. I think Pajit and others probably have talked about that earlier. And we are also able to use AI to increase the probability of success and reduce the timeline in our drug discovery and development process. So just very broad headlines in terms of some of the application. But what's really interesting is actually, I think it's useful to decode what is AI versus automation, because when I first started to look into AI, I got confused myself. I mean, isn't AI just some clever machine which can do more? So the answer is no. Maybe I take a moment to just demystify. When we talk about automation, it is actually, it comes with explicit rules and processes. We know what's the input and we know what the output is, and you get the machine to do things really fast, really quick. So you can think about it as dumb technology powered by programmable bots. But basically, it's just follow rules, handle tasks, and it can't react to new situation. Whereas when we talk about AI, and I would call it narrow AI, right? So this is about actually, there's no need to exactly spell out how things work. You give the machine a set of data as input, you give the machine a set of results as output, and then somehow the machine figure out the relationship that goes in between. And this can be done by a software, a robot, algorithm, but I think that's the magic of it. And when we talk about AI in my presentation, we're definitely talking about AI and not just automation. What does that mean? So for us within my organization, to help the organization to build future-ready capabilities for all employees, we have launched the AZ Digital and Data Academy. And what it is it's really a hub to providing resources for everyone with the organization to really understand a range of digital topics. And you can see the digital topics there, from what exactly is digital? What do we mean? How do we lead in a digital world? And there are some related concepts and ways of working as well, whether it's about data science and AI, but also agile design thinking, lean, and some lexicon and common language. But what I want to spotlight here today is just zoom into part of this academy that we launched within our organization. Data science and AI is definitely one of the key area. So what I'm going to do is to share with you some of the examples that we use to engage with our colleagues, because I think these examples would be of interest to colleagues outside our company as well. And they touch on all sorts of healthcare related, pharma related examples. So the first example I want to share with you, and which we use to introduce AI to our colleagues, to our scientists, is this example, right? So basically the example is how a group of testers are trained to tell whether an image contains cancerous tissue or not. So on the left-hand side, you can see these are the benign samples, and the right-hand side, they are the opposite. So this group of trainers are trained to read these images. And if they get it right, they are given positive reinforcement. After 2 weeks, the team actually reach an accuracy of 85%. And now my question for all of you is, and you can put it into the chat, guess who these testers were? Who were trained actually to detect these images with cancerous tissue or not? Any guess? I can't see the chat, but do shout out if you have if you see any on the chat. So guess who are the testers being trained?
AI
Okay,
machine.
it's a good guess, right? Okay, anyone else? The answer is no. Right, and that's why I say it's an interesting example that we use with our colleagues. The testers, they are pigeons. These pigeons are trained, and whenever they get the answer right, they are given reinforcement, food, right? And after a while, they learn. But what's the point? I'm not saying that we're going to turn everyone into pigeons within our company. What we're saying is that we want to start to ask our scientists, ask the people we talk about trust, to start paying attention to AI. And a lot of the scientists believe that only humans can do certain things. This example is actually to get them to challenge the status quo. There are things that perhaps others can do, perhaps that include AI. Right, so that's just really for the awakening. Anyway, so we've also shared quotes with our colleagues, and it's quite interesting one. So if people are worried or too scared about AI, then I think the message is AI will not replace drug hunters, but drug hunters who don't know about AI, who don't use AI, will be replaced by those who do. So this is our awakening piece to introduce the AI concept to our colleagues. And with that, there are lots of examples that my team and I have introduced and will introduce to the organization. And for example, in R&D, a lot have been said already. I won't repeat how AI is being used to discover and develop new medicines faster. So including gain a better understanding of the disease, identify new targets, speed up the way we design, develop, and make new drugs, recruit for better clinical trials, and also drive personalized medicine strategy. These are just some of the R&D example. But as I said earlier in my intro before the break, it's like, why is this so magical? How does AI actually help? And I think for me, again, this example actually helped me initially when I learned about AI, and I like to share that with you. Actually, we need to think about, when we think about learning, we need to be mindful that how human beings learn and how AI and machine learn, we learn actually in a very, very different way. So here's the example, right? So let's think about human beings, right? You sit down opposite to a 4-year-old child, show 2 or 3 pictures of a bicycle to the child. Now you ask the child to find all the other bicycles in a big pile of pictures. Very interesting human beings. He pick up unicycle, tricycles, bicycles, wrap around trees, all sorts of funny bicycles, you see, and the person can just pick it up based on very, very limited information. The child is able to generalize. What about machine, right? We're also so excited about AI, about machine. Machine work in a very logical way. Feed 1 million pictures of bicycle to the machine, then teach the machine by pointing to the picture, specifying which one is bicycle, which one is not, right? So then the machine learns to kind of find the relationship between the both sets of data. And then it's considered the machine has learned to label something as a bicycle. But what's really happening here, if you think about the magical, usually you see a lot of case studies, right? It's on the right-hand side. Something happened, we asked the machine to learn, and now the machine is so clever. But actually what actually happened is there's a chunk of historical data, in this case, images of bicycles. These data and images, in this case, are correlated with a conclusion that something looks like a bicycle, right? It's that relationship between these two sets of data, then it becomes kind of the mathematical relationship or statistical relationship becomes the machine learning model, right? And you need to trust this machine learning model enough that you validate, you say, okay, I'm happy for this machine learning model to be applied to now new cases. So therefore, once you validate it, once you've trusted this machine learning model, now you feed the machine, in this case, with more images, right? Whether it's bicycle or not. And now the machine actually used the machine learning model to actually tell you, okay, based on the data, new data you give me, this is a bicycle or this is not a bicycle. Does this make sense? So it's just making it very simple. It is the logic behind how AI work. And all this magic, you think it's very magical, it's pretty much, of course, I'm highly simplifying, but pretty much the same principle. And I think that helps me a lot when I look at hundreds, thousands of AI examples within the company. And then I start to go back to the bicycle principles I was sharing. So I'm going to share with you 3 simple case studies, all based on the same principle. Right, so case study number 1 is relating to manufacturing. So in the pharmaceutical industry, the description analysis of a drug product is a regulatory requirement. So the analysis is done by, usually you have a drug appeal, and the analysis is done by very manual visual inspection, right? So you look at the drug product, the tablet, and then you compare it to the reference sample, and a tablet may fail inspection because of maybe discoloring or chipped or some general damage, right? So what do? We use AI. So in this case, deep learning image recognition, right? So it's no different from looking at the bicycle images, but this time around, we scan all the tablets, right? And then to allow the machine to perform accurate description analysis and tell whether a tablet is damaged or not. So if you look at that, so it's actually draw the parallel, right? So it's no difference from the bicycle example. You've got tons of images, historical images of damaged and non-damaged tablets, right? The machine scanned them all, and then linking it to the conclusion that whether it's a damaged or non-damaged drug, and then that forms the machine learning model. And then you feed some new tablets through the system, and now the system can quickly tell you whether the tablet is damaged or not, and the accuracy is 95.2% of the time. So that's one example. Switch to a totally different example, right? This is in the commercial space, right? And we're talking about sales and commercial team. Who is likely to prescribe a new drug to patients? So the story is like this. So leukemia is a treatment for raised potassium levels in the blood. It is an illness. Most doctors do not view it as a serious illness, although it has been shown to increase death rate from all causes in diabetes, kidney failure, heart failure sufferers. But because there has been very little treatment in the market in the past 50 years, so this is a challenging situation to introduce a new approved drug, right? For if you're in the sales team, you're trying to bring this drug to the market. And so what we knew is that some doctors were prescribing this drug to the patients, right? This is a new drug. Some doctors are prescribing this. Can we understand more about these early adopters, so that we can find other doctors who are like them, so that we can approach these doctors and increase the opportunity for them to adopt and to prescribe to the patients? So very similar again to the bicycle example. It's like, but except that this time around it's not the image. So we actually look at a lot of historical data, like the prescriber location, specialty, promotional course, samples, prescription writing patterns, patient laboratory data, claims history. And in a nutshell, it's just lots and lots of data, right? And then going into the system. And then we're able to actually describe doctors, also look at the doctors, describe those who have or have not prescribed this new drug to the patients. So again, the machine learning actually draw the correlation. We trust at some point we believe and trust the machine learning model, and we begin to apply that model to the new data that we've got. So as a result, what happened is we use the machine learning model. We find the doctors who are likely to prescribe this drug, but have not done so yet. So on a monthly basis, the sales team actually get the insights. They can then look at those doctors who are likely to prescribe, but have not done so yet. And so they can focus their activities, their engagement activities to target at those doctors. So it's just another example of how AI has been applied. Another last example I want to share with you is about patents. I know someone talked about patents earlier. This example is about how we use AI to review all the patents to find relevant ones that AstraZeneca has to pay attention to. So what does that mean, right? So you all know that a patent is a form of intellectual property, give its owner the legal right to exclude others from making, using, or selling the intervention for a period of time. If you think back, going back to 1950s, there may be only a handful of patents every month. But today, there are around 10,000 European patents granted every month by the European Patent Office. Just one example here. So our AstraZeneca legal attorney team, they need to comb through these tens and thousands of patents every month. This is almost impossible. And how do we do it? So the question is, can we use AI, and in this case, a form of text mining called natural language processing, to automatically read through all these texts, all the patents, to find the ones that are most likely to be relevant for AstraZeneca to pay attention to. And as a result of this, so again, the model has been built and the training's been done. And as a result, every month, the machine learning model provides roughly about 20 relevant patents that we need to pay attention to. So think about the reduction in the cost and effort, or almost like it was almost impossible to achieve. So something impossible becomes possible. So again, the principle is very similar. Instead of looking at bicycle images, you look at lots and lots of text, right? And then you draw the relationship to the conclusions where AstraZeneca need to pay attention to those patents. And then the machine learning model is built. Once it's built and validated, then you feed new patents documents into the system, and the system will help you to pick the most relevant, roughly 20 ones. So as you see from all these examples, AI requires on lots and lots of historical data. And in the three cases I share with you, the data can be pictures of the tablet, right? Or data from various databases, healthcare systems, electronic records, or it can be text in documents. But the principles are the same. Using that trained machine learning model, you end up using the machine to help you to inform and to make some decisions or take some actions. There are so many other examples. I probably won't have time to go through them all today, so I will leave that for another day, but you can see it's applicable from supply chain, commercial, HR, or even in laboratory, predicting where, equipment's, the maintenance schedule, etc. They're all the same principles. What I like to say, and I repeatedly share with my colleagues and colleagues who are interested in this space, AI is not magic. There's no magic pill. It's logic. It's actually mathematical. It's scientific. It is statistics. And so there are real questions we need to answer if you are interested to use AI. First of all, you hear all these examples. What is the business or scientific problem you're trying to solve? That needs to be very, very clear. Do you have clean and biased data? Are you prepared to work with the answers? AI is not 100% correct. It always comes with certain level of confidence. Are you happy with that 95% correct? Are we happy with 70% correct? Of course, then depends on what you're going to use. What decisions are you going to make based on the AI answers, right? And what's the implication? Maybe on health, or there may be broader implications. Are you clear about the assumptions you've made? So these are all important questions, I think, before we get too excited about AI and assume that it is the magic pill. at the end of the day, I'm passionate and see that the future of work is about humans and machines working together as diverse team, right? And what I mean diverse is not just human and machines. We all play to our strength. There are things that humans are good at. We can actually we're very good with inductive work and thinking. Machine is very good at deductive work. So we need to work together, and humans need to make human judgment, values and ethics all matters. We need to work not only with machine as a diverse team, but also human to human. We need to work as a diverse team where we cherish the diversity of thoughts, because only by doing that, then we have the learning agility to actually make AI actually work for us. And learning agility, I mean, it's about proactively reflecting, thinking, anticipating, and also handling unintended consequence. As a result, you're continuously learning all the time. I'll end with this piece because this is something I'm very passionate about, and I'm also promoting within my organization. When we talk about learning agility and keep continuous learning, it's not just some fluff and some idealistic approach. Think about each one of you. If you are actually driving AI adoption or using some kind of AI, do you actually deliberately practice these 5 work habits? These are the things you need to think about. Are you reflecting and pausing and reflecting as an individual or as a team? Think about all these consequences. What are you actually trying to do? Are you having a growth mindset to both willing to experiment, try something new, open up the space for psychological safety to have the dialogue when things might or might not go wrong? You want to anticipate all this earlier, and you want to get it from a diverse viewpoint, because if you get locked into one perspective, the challenge is you will miss a lot of other perspectives, and that could be dangerous, right? So having inclusive meeting and collaboration and learning and working, not just within your team, but also collaborate widely across the organization and even with the external world. I think these are some of the work habits that we can deliberately practice to make actually AI work for us. And this link to the trust and the avoiding bias, and that diversity is actually very, very important. So I leave that, at this point, and I think hopefully we still have a bit of time to answer questions, but happy to stay connected and exchange ideas further.